Okay, everybody, I'm back again, same day. Jean Tuitt here. I wanted to talk today real quick about if you were raised with hypercritical parents, which many people were. In fact, depending on your subjective opinion, maybe all our parents were hypercritical of us, who knows? But there's a difference between constructive criticism and hypercritical stuff, and we all know what it is usually. And it's so ironic that oftentimes in life, even when we are out of that situation, even decades later, we still might draw in people in our lives who are still hypercritical of us. And it's because of a comfort zone thing, because we think that's what love is in relationships, or we think that's what friendship is about. But as I've gotten older, I sort of have learned just to hang around friends, people, and consider dating, maybe date, but or am open to dating people who are not critical people and who can just accept me as I am. But also on the other hand, I can accept them as they are too. Because before I went through my healing journey in my 20s and 30s and onward, 40s, 50s, etc., basically I was kind of critical myself of my friends, and my friends were critical of me. There were not all the friendships were like this. I did have some healthier friendships, but we thought that was the way we're supposed to be. Kind of like always trying to be the best version of ourselves. But there comes a point and a limit to that, okay? So, it depends, what you're up to and what you're doing. So, if you are like taking over the whole conversation, which I've done before. But I've also been friends with people who have done that with me too. Okay, that's when you have to kind of like put your foot down. Okay, now it's my turn, whatever. Or lots of things, like if you're like younger and your friends want to go out drinking all the time and it's not healthy, you can't afford it, you won't be able to pay all your bills if you do this or that, or if you're eating the wrong kinds of food or anything like that, or if you need new jobs and you're not working hard enough to do it. But there's always an answer, like my video yesterday, I was talking about different things, being older. Even if you're retired, semi-retired, or whatever, most people in our older age groups, we still have to work some to supplement our income. And there is age discrimination, and that's a big thing too. But on the other hand, going back and fitting under this umbrella of what I'm trying to talk about, critical stuff, maybe we can find industries and jobs and careers and things that can accept a little niche for us too. You may not be able to have the big job and career like you had when you were younger, because it's just going to be too critical of an environment for you. And if you have learned everything the hard way and you are sitting in an office or wherever with a bunch of people that are like know-it-alls, and you know that they don't know it all. In fact, you know that a lot of stuff that they know is not true, or basically clueless, that can trigger some people, and we've got to be careful on that. Nowadays, with the internet, we can all do our own homework and research. In fact, I could probably teach people on here, have another little channel, or I do have one channel that I don't get on very much, but it was about, I was trying to make a living as a publicist, which I've never been able to do. I've made a living as a news reporter, editor, and also as a brand, as an actor, which I've studied very hard for years, as with a lot of top people in acting. I've had some minimal success in that, not so much financial success, but most the truth of it is most people that go into acting don't make much money at it. They still have to do their other jobs and careers, maybe in the same industry or out. But back to the other, we can work on finding jobs and careers where we sort of fit in, you know. And but back, I could also like teach a class or just maybe do some more videos about doing your own research. Since I was in the news business, my original degree was in journalism. I have a bachelor's in journalism and news editorial. And we had to take all kinds of classes, ethics, journalism, and everything. And I worked in small newspapers where we did and covered everything. I covered everything from police news, you know, city council, school board, basic features, basic news stories, and did all the photography and everything. We kind of did it all. We even had to write advertising stories sometimes. But anyway, back to that. We can all do our own research now. And a lot of things are being released online that was confidential or, you know, basically they've released a lot of documentaries and things and reports that, you know, that were not released before. So there's a lot of things that you can research on your own. Sometimes you will never get to the bottom line of the truth. I think I mentioned that in one of my other videos. When I first went into journalism, basically, you may not ever know the truth. In fact, you know, but a lot of reporters don't. And then a lot of reporters are swayed one way or the other by their advertisers or the company that they work for. But back to that, you just have to maybe find jobs, and that's kind of what I'm looking into. A lot of industries are geared more for younger people. As far as acting goes, I mean, you could always be in that no matter what your age, and like most actors, you'll still have to have another job or business anyway, because, you know, unless you're like a very top actor that's made a lot of money at acting, you're not going to work all the time. And even those people don't work all the time. But they don't have to now because they have enough money, but they want to because it's very interesting and fun, but it's a lot of hard work too. But once you have had some acting roles, you'll want to continue to do that. So, but you can write roles for yourself and everything. That's what I'm kind of exploring right now. I guess that's my dog. He's just sneezing. We've all got a little bit of allergies, but I'm feeling better now. So that was all. I just wanted to say, don't be around hypercritical people. Now, on the other hand, maybe for your job or your business, like with your customers, or to get a job, or for an audition, or a job interview, you may have to encounter some criticism, and that's different, you know, because you might get paid. But, and you know, we have to have money to buy like bananas and fruit and meat, or if you eat meat or fish or chicken or, you know, fruit juice or coffee or whatever you have, you still have to have food, even if you need to drop some weight like I do. But we still have to eat food. I want to lose about 35, 40 pounds. Maybe 50, but I don't know. That might be, I think I'd only, you know, I haven't even had a scale in a long time. I know I've lost some weight with the economy and everything, and just being busy with everything, and having to move to a cheaper place, and all the stuff, and decluttering, and all the things. And, but yeah, so basically, but in our personal lives, with our friends, prospective dating, and back to my original premise, don't feel bad. I made a big video earlier about don't feel bad if you're single or divorced or you're alone. Some people had the love of their life and now they're widowed. And I'm not being cynical at all when I say that if they had a very wonderful, wonderful, wonderful spouse and it was a wonderful marriage, they may or may not find that now. They might. But things have changed a lot in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 whatever years that I've seen growing up. Um, it's just a little more pressure on everything in so many ways, and so mainly financial with inflation and so many things. So people's um, may not have the patience for a lot of the kind of relationships that they were dreaming of. I still believe in true love. I believe across the thing about the crowded room thing. I've experienced that, but it didn't always work out. It just doesn't always pan out. There's a lot of reasons behind that. I can maybe discuss that another day. I'm sure you've encountered that. Now, a few times it did. For a short time, it worked into maybe a short little relationship, or maybe it worked into something longer. But I think to me, the ideal ones would be more like it started maybe as a spark, but it immediately was a friendship at the same time. So it was a friendship before it, like, fully turned into a bigger spark, because just on people that I've met, my friends that are happily married after several years, family that's still married after several years, people that I've met that have had that situation, they really started more as a friendship, and then it blossomed. But there was still an initial spark, of course, and an interest. But the friendship was right along the same line, because at the end of the day, you have to be able to talk and communicate with someone and have other things in common besides just the, physical attraction, amore, that's great. I mean, and I still dream of that, and I dream of being on the beach with, having wine and having all of the, and quit, well, I'm not going to say, but quit judging people, I guess, or let's not be judgmental, or remember not to be judgmental of people that are single or divorced, or, it may not be their choice. And I think having successful relationships is a skill set that not everybody learned as a child, and maybe they went through childhood trauma where, like, enough to make it made my subconscious go, I don't know if I want that, but yet I did want it because for validation. But then if you grew up with some issues with a certain individual parent that caused you a lot of heartache and pain and whatnot, and on the other hand, maybe sometimes they were nice to you, and it was like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, wolf in sheep's clothing kind of situation, which oftentimes translates into future relationships, which I've had those. So, but anyway, I feel kind of healed today, because I also finally quit following any of these celeb imposters that were following me, that I wanted to dream that it was this idolized version of this celebrity. In fact, more than one celebrity, but one in particular that I thought, oh, well, I've idolized this person. And he's done a lot of growth and change. I mean, I've just seen him just quickly, I even met him without even knowing I was meeting him. I might discuss it another day. You might already know who it is based on another video. But this person, this actor, celebrity, whatever, I mean, he's, has so many, he has less imposters now than ever before. Thank God. Praise the Lord. But this one had about 200 or 300 at one point, but I had reported him, and I met a great friend through this. She had the same situation. Fortunately, she has a mate, a spouse, a wonderful man that kind of like, I don't know if he literally grabbed the phone from her, but anyway, I'm not going to mention her name because she might. But when these people are literally, they used to just blow up my phone. And at the end of the day, I think I knew that it really wasn't this person. But I was feeling low self-esteem at the time and grief over losing my brother. And years before, I'd lost my mom to cancer and then my brother to cancer. Then I had an elderly cat that passed, and just my life didn't turn out like I thought, and blah, 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 blah. And I'd moved out to LA again, and, I don't know if you've heard some of my other videos, but it was like the validation of basically just, knowing deep down in your soul, this is not this person. And then you can tell sometimes by their grammatical errors and spelling and all this stuff. And they even would call you, be careful, because they'll call you in that celebrity's voice, okay? And, but you can tell it's not the celebrity because they get some kind of software to make it like the voice, but the way they're talking, the vocabulary, it doesn't make any sense because they're still using their own thought patterns and articulation and grammatical or whatever it comes across in their verbal abilities also. So anyway, I'm going to end it on that one. We can talk about that in more detail another time, but it's freeing. And I want to thank my friend Kim that helped me. We kind of helped each other get out of this mess with them. She's going on to do great things. She's written 2 books. She dropped all those imposters. I mean, they literally will blow up your phone. We both knew and never had money. Neither one of us has extra money at all to give to these people, but they will take up your time. And I think even if they know that you don't have the money for them, it's the ego thing, or maybe they're practicing on you to work on their narcissistic tendencies to basically tie up your time and get the ego boost that they need. It's too bad that they have to feel like they're another person to get the validation. Plus, they can't seem to get a real job, which I know it's tough out there to get a job, real good job. And but anyway, we'll talk about that another time. But it is free and let it go, So when I reported a lot of them, and Elon Musk did get rid of quite a few off Twitter. There's just a few stragglers left now, but there used to be hundreds on there before he bought it, actually. And the same thing, apparently Zuckerberg has done the same thing with Instagram and Facebook, because there's very few on there now too. Just a handful, And so a lot of the celebrities on there now are real, but be careful because a lot of them are still not. But a lot of them have been taken off. Okay, over and out, guys. So just have a good day and be happy. Don't worry about anything. I mean, well, be concerned, but not worried.